Hi everybody, my name is Noel Richards.
And I'm Wayne Drain.
And I would like to talk in this podcast about what happens when God's presence breaks into our well-organized program. You see, as musicians, we like to have free rein. We like to be led by the Spirit. We like to, we don't like to be constrained by, you have 20 minutes to lead worship. And Wayne and I, we have a story about a conference we were at many years ago where God had other plans.
It was in Canada, I believe, wasn't it, Noel? And we were there for a conference.
It was indeed, yes, a worship conference.
A worship conference.
And Martin Smith and Stu G of Delirious turned up for lunch at the conference just to visit and say hi. They were doing a concert in the city that night with the band Delirious. And they showed up, and it was the time when they had just released that wonderful song, Majesty. Do you remember?
I do. It's a great song.
And the organizer of the conference, he said, Martin, Stu, why don't you open up the afternoon session by singing Majesty? And you remember what happened?
Yeah, well, they just played acoustically, and something just filled the room. You could have heard a pin drop. All of a sudden, everyone was present. No one was looking at their phones. We knew we're in sort of a God moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really special. I mean, because it is a special song. And it's funny how some songs seem to help you engage with the presence of God more than others. And that certainly is what happened on this occasion.
Do you remember what else happened after the song?
Well, we were standing on the side, weren't we? Because there was an area for those of us who were participating in the conference, having a leadership role. And I remember there was a dear friend of ours, his name is Stuart, and a great songwriter. And it was his role that afternoon to open the afternoon session with worship. He was in the program. But what happened was that after Majesty, that holy moment that we experienced was suddenly ended because Stuart was then called to the front of the stage and asked to lead his program of worship.
And it just sort of went downhill. It was like you just were about to have a great meal, and then suddenly it was time to go to work.
Yeah.
For me. It wasn't that Stuart did a bad job. He did a great job. But we are all just sort of aware we could have missed a moment there. And I think it reminds me of the time that it says in Scripture that Joshua used to linger in God's presence after Moses had left the tent of meeting, and he just did not want to leave God's presence. And I think we can become so program-oriented or performance-oriented that when something like that happens, we need to leave a tender moment alone, to quote Billy Joel, rather than just try to get back to the program.
Yes.
And it's a dilemma.
Yeah.
In some ways, because you're trying to do what you're there to do and do what you've been asked to do, and but then you've got this moment.
Yeah.
What do you do with it, Noel?
Yeah, we're asking God to meet with us.
Yeah.
We're wanting God to be in the center and the focus of our attention.
But when he does,
then we go, but the program, the worship team only had 20 minutes, or maybe we feel, yes, we should extend the worship, or maybe it's all happened just after one song, just like this in this conference, just one song, Majesty, and we're caught up in the presence of God. And I guess a little phrase that I've always used is we must allow time for the congregation to breathe.
Yes.
And maybe when God breaks in, we just have to go with what God is doing. It's not a tragedy if we don't, because there's always another meeting next week. But when God breaks in and we have those holy moments, I hope that we'll be sensitive to them and just go with that moment and allow the congregation to breathe.